record on
Yes.
Okay.
I recorded on Can I Play with Madness, and when the drums come in.
What?
Boom.
Yeah, I was waiting for the Can I Play with, and then
I came in with the vocals.
You're
What?
supposed to come in after he says 1, 2, 3, 4
Yeah.
I didn't.
Idiots.
on the
I was
Can I
thinking
Play
of
with Madness.
I was thinking where the drums come in. Silly me.
Why would
It's
you?
fine. I can fix it. It's fine. We'll just keep it.
Why would it come in much fun?
Why would you do that?
Now that I know,
Wait, so that means Tim still hasn't come in yet. He never got to the drums.
Have you hit record yet?
he hit record. It's just
Yeah.
So, how was Earth Rocker?
it was good. Clutch was awesome as always.
Yep.
Their set could have been a little better, but
They should have gone deeper.
they played a lot of new stuff.
Uh,
They didn't play anything off Clutch, the self-titled.
okay.
Not even Space Grass. They didn't play Space Grass.
Bullshit.
I know. I was like, "What are you guys doing?" I liked it. They're always great, and I love their new stuff. So
You do have a lot of songs. It's going to be hard.
They do.
yeah,
They
they do.
have a lot of albums.
A lot of albums. Yeah, and I love the new album. So Barbarella,
Yeah.
In Walks Barbarella. That song's so good. And
Last two have been quite good.
Yeah.
Last three, really.
Give me the keys.
Yeah.
Give me the keys. Or every time we have dinner where there's cheese involved, I go, "Give me the cheese."
Mention though tonight it's gonna be a little different.
Oh yeah, what's up? What are you drinking? Seltzer water or something? What is that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
Not drinking tonight.
Okay, that's good. Good for
We're
you.
not drinking alcohol. I know it's
I drink that almost every single time we have a podcast. Not that specific one, but
Yes. I drink beer every single podcast. I don't know. Have you noticed?
no, never noticed that.
What? What is this? You speak of this beer. You speak
Straight
of.
Edge podcast.
I probably would, but I don't like headaches.
I'm drinking a beer. It's a
Yeah.
porter. Just shoots.
Well, you normally do like a or
Yeah,
two
it's
beers, and I normally, plan on
a.
3, and those are done right about, and we're halfway through the opening band.
Yeah.
That's all right.
10 years ago, I probably could have swung that, but
You don't even want to think about what I would have been doing 10 years ago.
When a form of music that our children like becomes linked with ghoulish images and violent theatrics, it demands our attention. Hundreds of thousands of teenagers are locked onto so-called heavy metal music.
I grew up metalhead. I love 80s. Yeah, 80s metal, like Metallica. Yeah.
How much more black could this be? And the answer is none more black.
Gotta turn it up.
It's gonna be abrasive, it's gonna be sickening, it's gonna be hard to listen to, it's gonna be aggressive, and it's gonna fucking kick you in the fucking balls of the pussy.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Somewhere in Time Podcast. SomewhereInTimePodcast.com is where you can find us online. That's where you get to all of our social medias, the Twitters, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the YouTubes, all that good stuff. So SomewhereInTimePodcast.com. That's where you'll find us. So Tim is here. What?
The grinder.
Yeah. Link to our Grinder app is on there. Keith's here, Joe's here, Tim's here, and we're joined by a special guest today. This is a fellow metalhead, fellow musician. He is currently in 2 bands from the Northern Virginia area, Iris Divine and Eyes of the Nile. Eyes of the Nile is an Iron Maiden tribute band. And I'd like to welcome Navid Rashid to the program.
What's up, man? Good to be here.
Thank you for joining us. We're excited to talk some metal with you. We've got we've got 3 3 albums to talk about this time. So we're going to cover Testament, Practice What You Preach. Oh yeah, we're still doing the 30th anniversary, 30th, whatever you want to call it, right, Joe? It's not really an anniversary.
I think it is. I think you were right on that one.
Exactly. What else are you going to call it?
All right. Yeah. We're celebrating 30 years of Practice What You Preach by Testament, made in England, which is we're kind of cheating on that one. Technically, it's a live album. So
we can't cheat. We make up the rules.
And Forced Entry, Uncertain Future. So where shall we start?
I actually think we should start with the Grindr app. Because I don't even know what that means.
No?
Well, no. You're single now, so.
What is Grindr?
You don't know what Grindr is, huh?
No. What is it?
Do you want to just have sex with the worst human beings alive? Get on Grindr.
Probably the quickest way to get a disease.
Yeah.
Really?
And possibly robbed.
I have my phone right here.
Oh, God.
His body was found
Yeah.
by some coworkers.
Is it Grindr with no E?
Maybe.
This is Grindr.
This is dude. Please, Joe, stop now. That was a joke.
This is a really bad segue, but since we're talking about Grindr, we should probably talk about Forced Entry first.
There you go. Who says that wasn't a good segue?
Wow. There it is, guys. There it is.
Navid, as you can tell, we're like 13-year-old boys here.
Yes. I'm getting the vibe. Thank you.
I think I'm going to pass on Grindr, guys.
It would be your best bet.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So let's talk about Forced Entry. I think they're the kind of the honorable mention this episode.
The opening band.
Yeah. So from Seattle, Washington, another Seattle band. You got Tony. Three-piece. Tony Benjamins. Is that right? Tony Benjamins.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Plural.
Yes. Yeah. I have the CD right here.
Oh, look at that.
I don't know if it's plural, but it ends in an S.
Yeah.
He is the, I guess, vocalist and bass player. Is that right?
Yes. Correct.
And then Brad Hull on guitar and vocals on track 6.
That's right.
They do a lot of split vocals. So.
They do.
Yeah, they do. And
he's got a good voice.
He does, yeah. And Colin Matson on drums. So,
yes.
This album is not as good as their next one.
No,
it is not.
No,
I liked it.
I'm right there with you on this one. I was quite impressed. I love how like the vocals, they actually go for a bit of growliness into them, but it's not any of the death metal nonsense. You know, he has a bit of a range to them. And the one thing like Wikipedia mentions is they got a unique bass sound, and I did not necessarily hear that. I liked it. I mean, I was jamming, nicely to that, but I don't hear anything. I mean, once we hit Testament, I think we're gonna bring that up again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Craig Christian, love his sound. Yeah, these guys, I don't know what the hell that meant, but still, solid fucking album from start to finish. I mean, it's definitely not, it's not going to go down in the canon of metal history, but a good pickup. I would definitely thank you guys for bringing this one to my attention.
Well, I didn't know about this one either at all, except for I was mentioning before we started that I'd read about Forced Entry and Brad Hull in some Guitar World or Guitarist article from like 89 or 90 or something where they did like a little thrash feature with like Alex Skolnick and a couple of other people. Mm-hmm. But I will say it was very technical. It was very progressive, like lots of time changes, lots of like, shifts in the middle of songs, much more so than like the Big Four, any of the more commercial stuff. I mean, it felt underground. Like it felt like an underground album when I was listening to it. It's not an easy listen in the way that like Practice What You Preach is an easy listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But good stuff though. Great riffs. You know what it randomly reminded me of, and I know this is about several years beforehand. It almost reminded me of like the first time I heard Nevermore, where it was like this very sort of technical thrash thing, lots of these cool riffs that just sort of drop in, and then it goes back to some sort of vocal thing. I definitely got a very like a technical vibe from that, which is cool. I mean, I like prog metal a lot, obviously. So I mean, it was definitely good by me.
Yeah, one of the notes I took was they really like their tempo changes, don't they?
Yep. Yeah, lots of that.
Yeah, there are a lot of tempo changes and like kind of.
Yeah, they don't. They kind of get in their own way with it, in a way. Like,
yeah,
they'll have a really good groove going on or a riff, and then just out of nowhere, we're gonna do, like you said, a time change here.
I thought the same thing actually today. I was like, they didn't need to do that right there. It was like just for the sake of doing it.
Like they were trying.
We can do it here. Let's do a 3 here, 2 here. Like you didn't have to. Really.
Yeah,
it'd been fine.
I think it messes them up a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that's true. The album after this, they really there's like some songs that are so awesome on that album, and then there are songs that you're like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Was Apathy is one that
was great.
But this album production, I thought, remember the No Life to Leather? Remember the original cassette that said "Turn Down Bass on Amp"? Remember that?
Oh,
that was a thing. That's what this reminded me. I was like, the bass is so loud on this.
Yeah.
Like, good God, turn the bass down.
It's weird. You can hear everyone.
Yeah.
Clearly, they just don't sound that good.
It's muddy as hell.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
Production-wise, is not fantastic, but.
No, but song-wise, good.
Yeah. No, I like the songs a lot.
Yeah.
And I kind of forgot about it. Like this was almost. I know Navid, you said, and Keith, you guys said it's like the first time you heard this as well. It was almost the first time I've heard it because I haven't listened to it in probably 20 years. So it's been a while for me.
There's sort of a fine line, I think, with this type of thing in terms of listenability, right? I mean, other bands in the thrash genre definitely did things with time changes and turnarounds. I mean, Anthrax did it a bunch. Metallica on Justice. I mean, I think a lot of these bands, they move from a songwriting style that's a lot more intricate to one that's a lot more linear, right? I mean, once you start getting into the Black Album, Countdown to Extinction, I mean, certainly thrash came of age like everything else, and they sort of became a lot more linear and streamlined. But there's sort of a line there. I mean, these guys definitely, had very little regard for like catchiness. It was really more about just like, let's just wherever the music takes us. Well, it's a cool riff. All right, dude, throw it in, kind of a thing.
Right.
I really listening to this. Absolutely, what you're saying. I didn't get a sense ever that they were, conforming. I think we talked a lot about in this in past episodes. Vocalists trying to just go for range just because that was what you're supposed to do, and
right.
Whatever. And these guys were flat out, writing their own fucking music and not giving a rat's ass. And of course, unfortunately, it didn't really work out long term for them, but as well as others. But
yeah, well,
I really do appreciate the fact that what you said is absolutely correct. Like these guys wrote their own music and were not trying to conform to any kind of outside, circumstances or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first song was called Bludgeon. That kind of sets the tone for what they do.
Yeah, and you've got to work really hard to pick out like the choruses or whatever qualifies as a chorus, because it all just sort of, for me, it all just sort of was just a wash of riffs, basically. Yeah. Which is, so it's cool to listen to. I mean, like, it's definitely fun. In my car, I was like rocking out to a lot of the riffs and stuff like that. But again, the memorability factor, I think, sometimes sort of suffers. It's a fine line. Because, all the big four bands, I mean, and even, the others that probably belong in that same kind of like esteem, Exodus, whatever. There's maybe not Exodus to you guys, but I think
it's
earned their spot. But
they did. They did.
But the point is, I mean, those guys, they had a way of getting hooks into the music, right? I mean, they somehow, you still walk away, you can shout along with a chorus, you can air guitar along to a main riff.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's just, and I think that's the thing that made those bands stand out and ultimately become more commercially successful, right?
Yeah.
I think Forced Entry did do a lot of like groove, which surprised me about them. I kind of had forgotten that they had a lot of like groove parts where you're like, oh, that's like, like these
not just all
like,
speed.
Yeah, like they had like slower tempos where it's actually like the drums are actually grooving. Like it's like, wow, that's like a headbanging. Like, yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah, I like when they like the song. I'm gonna butcher this. Is it the second to last song?
Yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah,
Morgulon.
Now that song's awesome, and there's a breakdown on that's my favorite part of the album by far. It's like
that's what I mean. They have breakdowns, these riff-driven groove parts.
Right.
Yeah.
The end of Foreign Policy, same thing. The very last chunk of that song is all groove.
Yeah, we play a little bit of
It's
that.
almost like
another album that came out the same year, which I think Eric, you and I went up, but I think you guys already did this one. You guys already did Beneath the Remains, right?
Yes.
Yeah, which is one of my all-time favorites. I love that album to death. I love Sepultura to death, actually. But there's an example of an album where there is a little bit of a kitchen sink approach. There's like a lot of riffs, but somehow the vocal refrains and just the way he delivers them, it still kind of keeps pulling you in. I mean, the title track has a million different shifts in it. It's not linear by any stretch, but the chorus, or what qualifies for a chorus in that song, is still very memorable.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I believe they got good reviews on our show, didn't it?
Oh yeah. Beneath the Remains.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In fact, I think we'd forgotten how good it was.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I love that album to pieces.
Yeah, we were saying like Chaos AD and Arise were, those were always our tops, but Beneath the Remains I think now is up there with those.
Oh, love it.
Too, so yeah. Let me play a little bit of that. Middle of that. This part. It's like acoustic guitar in there too.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit like another band we're about to talk about.
Indeed.
The Little Maiden.
A little bit. Can you play a little bit of the ending of Foreign Policy? Just the last, somewhere in the last minute or so.
All right. Let's see.
Just the main riff there is like. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, that's oh yeah. Very groove metal.
These are like, groove, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of surprising.
Yeah.
And
well,
almost Megadethy in a way.
What's that?
It's almost Megadethy in a way. It's almost like Peace Cell style Megadeth in a way to me. That riffing there. I don't know. That's my take.
Oh yeah. From like
Wake Up
Friday or something like that.
Yeah, that same kind of like there's this riff that's going and it's
yeah. Very similar groove actually. I can hear it in my head. I just can't place the song.
Yeah, just the feel of it has just a Megadeth vibe to me.
Well, we'd be doing a disservice if we didn't play Bone Crackin' Fever, right? Bone Crackin' Fever is like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's I think Eric and I both, we went backwards with this band because we heard Bone Crackin' Fever first. Because I don't think you were there, Eric, but Stephen and I went to a show at the Bayou, and they handed out free samples of As Above, So Below, just short snippets of songs. And that song was on the tape, and then we immediately bought the album, and we're like, "Oh my god, this is so awesome!" So we went back and got their first album too. But yeah, Bone Crackin' Fever was the first song we heard by these guys.
Better production already. The drums sound better. Bass sounds better.
Yep.
That's so good. I can't play this whole song, but God, I could listen. And
so
they're like, that's probably what at least one of the bands that's responsible for one of the first songs I ever wrote. So
yeah,
one of the first riffs I ever wrote. So because I wanted to know what the hell they were doing. Like, how are they doing that harmonic thing? That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I took the time to learn like approximately how they were doing it, and then I wrote a song using that technique.
Completely ripping it off.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
It wouldn't be the first time we wrote those guys off.
No.
Whoops.
You know. What does that
I
say?
mean, that sounds like forced entry. That said no one ever.
Shit, we used to play Cockroaches by
Nail Bomb.
Nail Bomb. Yeah, we used to cover that song because no one knew who the fuck it was, and we're like, we'll get away with it. People think it's our song. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what else? Anything else on Forced Entry? We've got.
You mentioned they have basically two singers. I guess you said that already. That the song "Unrest" they find on this album has Brad Hull on lead vocals, which is kind of
that's
cool.
right. Yeah.
Ordinarily, it's Tony Benjamin. So
it kind of reminded me of when Prong would do.
Yeah.
Prove You Wrong, right? Where they had
the
bass player doing Troy
Gregory.
Troy Gregory was doing some vocals on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But their vocal styles are so similar. I don't think I even noticed that it was a different guy. I was like, that's different. Oh, I guess it is. But,
I noticed today, like that doesn't sound the same.
Yeah, back in the day I didn't notice, but yeah, for sure now it's like, oh, that's a different guy.
Yeah.
It's not like a Cro-Mags thing.
Right.
All right. Well, you guys
Shall
have
we
anything
move
else?
on? Anyone?
Who sings on the? Is it Never a No but the No or something like that?
I think they both do.
One of them has like a pretty voice.
Yeah, I think they.
He's a guitar player, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's the pretty voice guy.
Pretty voice.
Yeah, the clean vocals guy.
But not
Great song.
otherwise.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about Maiden.
Yeah, I think so.
Testament Maiden.
When you Maiden?
Yeah,
Maiden. Maiden.
Yeah, because it's not, like I said earlier, it's not really. I mean, we're it's a live album, so, and in fact, it didn't. I mean, technically, I guess it came out in '89, right?
Yeah, it was recorded in '88. It came out in '89.
Yeah,
Came out about a year later after it was recorded.
Yes.
Now, just to make sure we're on the right page here, I apparently listened to the 2013 version.
Yes. So I was going to talk about that. Yeah, there's
multiple.
Yeah, there's actually four different releases of this,
which is insane because when you first said, "All right, we're going to do Made in England," my first thought was like, "All right, we're doing Made in Japan," and I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute, that's from like 1982." So
yeah, no,
it's not bad. And then I look at this and I'm like, "Wait a minute, what the fuck is this?" Because I totally forgot this even existed, and there's like 8 different versions of it, and it's like, but I mean, the biggest thing when it comes to this album, and I think let's face it. I think we're going to talk about this again once we get to Testament, living in the shadow of some other stuff. I mean, let's face it, this is the live album that came after their first live, well, not the first, but one way or another, the live album that came after Live After Death, which is hands down the best live album there is in fucking heavy metal, I think. I mean, there was no way in hell this thing was going to live up to that. I mean, there's just...
I think I like the set list better on this.
I was going to say this.
You fucking idiot.
No.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
No.
You jack off the Seventh Son that much? I mean, god damn.
I know. I love Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son. So
I love Somewhere in Time too, but I mean, Number of the Beast, Power Slave. I mean, I love the I don't know. The big thing that I feel about this is the vocals were not. I mean, when you listen to this version of Die with Your Boots one. The vocal parts, I don't know, in the choruses, it just seems as though he's half-hearted, towards,
He was in a phase at this point in the career of the band that,
I noticed that too, that he wasn't quite as into it or something.
Yeah. I was actually going to get Navid's take because he's a singer.
It's funny. I mean, I've listened to all of these, to death, obviously, just trying to pick up on all the nuances and all the stuff. And we do every song on this. I'd say we don't do every song. We do all of Live After Death. We do every song on that. But on this one, no, there's a bunch we don't do. We don't do Can I Play With Madness. We don't do Infinite Dreams. But the point is, I've listened to a lot of these, and I think when you listen to Bruce Dickinson in the classic period, you hear his voice evolve a lot.
Yeah.
And you go through different phases, right? I mean, and just from a technical point as a singer, right? If you listen to Beast Over Hammersmith, he's just going for it. He's you can tell there is no trying to protect his voice. He's a young guy and he just wants to get out there and rip faces off. If he kept doing that, he wouldn't have had a voice in like 3 years.
Yeah.
So you can already tell, even an album or two later, even Live After Death. I mean, Live After Death, I agree, is my favorite live album probably of all time. But I mean, is he singing exactly like the studio versions? Not at all. Not even close up. I mean, there's plenty of places where he's doing things differently. I mean, just the range and sort of the stamina required to do all that material. I mean, you see it evolve and go through phases. And I think, when you listen to a lot of live versions, for me, I think Somewhere in Time was probably, in terms of like live performance, is probably the low point. I think a lot of people would say they didn't do a live album for that, but if you listen on YouTube and stuff, he just sounded exhausted, and they've been touring like crazy, album tour. I mean, you can only do but so much, right? And so this one, it sounds like he's kind of on the rebound, but not quite back to what he could be.
There are moments like the end of Hallowed Be Thy Name. He's almost like he's not even quite even hitting the note there. Like
and there's a bunch of that on this album. If you really want to dissect it, Bruce Dickinson has this amazing ability to, even when he's not quite in tune, it still sounds good. It's like this crazy thing. I don't know how he manages to do it, but he does it, and it's crazy because anybody else who tries to do that just sounds bad. Yeah. So he just, he's just so iconic. But like, I would say even the vocal performances are better for me on Donington, Real Live Dead One. I just feel like, he's probably just gone through phases. I think
period. Flight 666 might be his best performance, like one of his best performances.
Well, what I was going to say was, the reunion era is a different thing entirely. I mean, I think Rock in Rio is my number 2, right after Live After Death. Okay. I think Rock in Rio is.
What about In Vivo too?
Live albums. So much energy, and you can tell, again, if you're just looking at it sort of technically, his voice is different in the reunion era, and actually he's more consistent. He's actually hitting the notes better. I think he went away, he took a break. He doesn't talk about his voice much in interviews, but it sounds like he must have had some kind of training or something, because even when Accident of Birth and those albums came out, he was killing it. He was killing it.
Have you read his book, Navid?
Bits and pieces, not the whole thing.
Okay, that you should read the whole thing. He does talk about it in the book. Actually, he kind of opens up about his vocals and how it kind of like what you were saying when he started. It was just like balls out, I'm gonna destroy the world, and then he realized if I keep doing this, I'm gonna kill myself, and I need to step back.
So whatever he did during the solo career, like the Chemical Wedding, those albums, Accident of Birth, when he came back to Maiden, he was just on it, and all of those albums, Flight 666. Rock in Rio, even Death on the Road, and those whatever, all of them. I mean, he just sounds so great. And every time I've seen him in the reunion era, he's so consistent. Yeah, it's really something. But I would agree, Made in England. I mean, it's not his strongest, his strongest moment. But you know what though? All the credit to these guys for releasing it this way, because it's real. It's not Unleashed in the East. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like
from what I've read on this, pretty much this one, the reason this got created, I mean, let's face it, the reason why most of everything Maiden-wise gets created is because Steve Harris.
Right.
He did not have as much control over Live After Death, and he felt pissed off about that. So he's like, all right, another live album. This time I control everything. And,
I agree with you, Navid, though. He's doing, like, it's a credit to them to that they actually put this out, even though it wasn't
this is, I mean, it sounds like that's probably what he sang that night or whatever, and maybe there were some minor edits or whatever, but it wasn't totally cleaned up. I mean, it definitely sounds a little bit raw, and I mean that takes a lot of guts to do that. Most fans wouldn't
judging from what I read about this album, the release, what Steve Harris was trying to do in the production wise, his setup of mics, obviously this album was really purposefully created as a VHS.
It was VHS,
right?
It was supposed to be a live recording, but he had set up in the audience because he really wanted to try and encapsulate what the concert goer would actually hear,
right?
Really get the sense of everything that happened. Right. And I think that comes through to an extent here, but I would, I think what you're saying is that, I don't know what you guys think. I hate when live albums come out and it's like one song from each different show. Or one song, let's look at Live After Death, or
right.
A real live one, or a real dead one,
right?
So much of the stuff, I like it when they do shit like this, where it's just like one fucking, everyone that showed up to show gets to find out that guess what, they got to be on an album, and it's
Yeah.
I prefer that, but I don't think that this recording, this performance was probably the best of that tour.
Right. No, I just like it because the set list it features some of my like Still Life, which one of my
I
favorites.
did enjoy that. I mean,
Still Life is a cool song. Yep.
Love that song.
Stuff you're not going to hear on any other live album.
Right. Exactly.
What I love about it.
Yeah.
It's a shame. I know we're not talking about this particular album, but it's a shame to me how much of Somewhere in Time has just gotten passed over by the band.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
It's my all-time favorite by them.
Such a good album. You know, I mean, it's Wasted Years and Heaven Can Wait, and that's pretty much
it. Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah. So on
there's
this,
so much more you can pull from that album.
Yeah.
So much
They only do
Alexander the Great.
Well, that's a good song too.
But they've never played it live. So
which one?
Okay. Alexander
the Great. Okay.
Yeah. I guess they only do 3 on this one, don't they? Clairvoyant.
Have they never played the whole album all the way through?
I don't think so.
Seventh Son?
They definitely haven't because they've never played Alexander the Great live.
Yeah, no.
It's one of the three
Didn't
songs.
they play all of Seventh Son all the way through when you guys saw them?
I was at that show. I mean,
it wasn't like a front
5
to
years
back thing.
ago.
It was just kind of a looking back, like they pulled that stage show back and kind of redid that.
Oh, I thought they played the album all the way through.
No,
not all of it.
Okay.
Nah.
Well,
most of it, and I think 2 years or maybe even 3 years before that, they did that for Somewhere in Time. I didn't go to that show, unfortunately. But
I saw that one too. I was so happy to see that one because, I missed them on the initial run of Somewhere in Time. So to be able to see them on Somewhere Back in Time when they did that was awesome. It was amazing.
I was reading an interview about this album, and for some reason, I mean, for me, this is just sort of part of the Maiden catalog, and I don't really think of Maiden as a prog metal band per se, but this album definitely was that, right? It's like a concept album. There's lots, again, back to the time changes and all of that. I mean, there's lots of that going on. And I read in some interview that, this is kind of, I think, when Bruce Dickinson was probably thinking about taking off and doing his own thing or whatever.
Right.
And, he was, I think, feeling like Operation Mindcrime was like a better concept album than their concept album. And, I guess, Steve Harris was already feeling like, he's just not really into this.
Yeah, I think that's in the book too. I think he talks a little bit about that in the book too. So, yeah, because it was a concept. It wasn't really a story. It was more of a
right.
I've got this concept, and it was Seventh Son, and since it's our 7th album,
I mean, we discussed this. We actually discussed Seventh Son at a previous session.
Yeah.
And we got into all of that, and seriously, I mean, my biggest complaint is, where the fuck is that story going? I mean, it just, there is no, you get some plot points, but there's no consistency. And I mean, does it even end?
Right.
On the flip side, however, the songs do hold up on their own, which is really cool.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need the story. But, this one, the other thing that I like about this album a lot is I think in the set list, the pacing of it is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like, you come in big with Moonchild and Evil That Men Do and The Prisoner, and right there, song number 4, you're already bringing it down for Still Life and getting some atmosphere and stuff like that.
Right.
Which is an interesting place to put it. Just we always agonize over like how to order a set list, for the tribute shows and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see the choices that they make, because they're not the choices that we make, because we're just trying to, make sure that everyone really gets into it, and you want to get the casual fans as much as hardcore fans. But these guys, they're just jumping right in. Like song 4 is Still Life. They're like, okay, well, we're going to go with a deep cut, like, in the first third of the show.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Absolutely.
And it's an interesting, the way the show ends is interesting too. It's the closer is Sanctuary. I guess that's not too odd, but
they've done that a couple times, I feel.
Yeah. Run to the Hills, Running Free, and Sanctuary are the closers.
I mean,
right.
4 old school tunes, and of course 3 of which are played in every goddamn performance. So, Sanctuary, it's cool to see that, because that isn't one of the 4 old school ones. It's done every fucking show.
Yeah.
Wait, so you're mad that they do that every show?
I'm just kind of sick to hearing Run to the Hills and Iron Maiden. I love those songs, but I hope
Wednesday can destroy. You
Yeah, like every band has.
Yeah,
well,
but
you know what? To their credit, the Trooper's not on this album.
oh, that's true. That's crazy. I
Which
didn't
is
notice that.
which is actually, I will tell you, one of my least favorite songs to do. And every show I try to convince the guys, let's drop it for the show, and they'll tell me to shut up, and then that's the exact. But
Why don't you like playing it? Is it a vocal thing?
it's
Or?
just, no, it's just not that. I never loved the song, which is kind of weird. Like, I mean, it's just never been one of my favorite. Like, among the overplayed to death Iron Maiden songs, I'll take Run to the Hills over the Trooper any day of the week. I just think it's a cooler song personally. So Trooper just gets kind of repetitive, and I mean, it's cool. I'm not gonna say it's a bad song, obviously, but
right.
but yeah, but in doing the set list, yeah, we do a lot of this, like, you know, what should go where, what's going to pump up the audience, what's going to like be a curveball for the old school guys. Because, you know, whenever we do this, there's always going to be that contingent of like the really old crusty dudes who are like, yeah, some Maiden Priest in '82, and like those guys. You pull it like, you know, Purgatory.
Play anything off of Fear of the Dark.
Yeah, there's like, you play Purgatory, there's like 5 guys going nuts, and everyone else is like, what the hell was that? So, it's all about making choices.
Yeah.
Do a lot of Blaze Bailey era stuff.
Yeah, right. No, you know what's funny? I'll tell you, not even that. Our drummer, Chris, he's a purist, and he didn't want to do anything after Fear of the Dark. We just convinced him to do Wicker Man. So the one concession to the reunion era.
Wow.
I've talked to him about that before.
On the second, actually.
Yeah, I've tried several times to have him listen to Book of Souls. I'm like, dude, you got to give Book of Souls another chance.
Oh, it is so good.
And he can't. He's like, no, I've tried like 4 times. I can't do it. I'm like, dude, it's so good. You don't.
How can you
missing out?
Oh man.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Those things.
I liked how Seventh Son of the Seventh Son, the song ended, and they went right to Number of the Beast. I thought that was a cool transition.
You know, the other thing that's worth noting about Maiden live albums, if you perform the music, they are way faster than the studio version.
Oh yeah,
so much faster. When we started Eyes of the Nile, this was the biggest band debate because Chris, again, you know, he's like a fanatic. He knows every last like hi-hat nuance that Clive Burr ever played on anything. So he's like a total completist, like obsessive. You know, he's a trained musician, and he charts. He's
in other words,
like
you sucked him.
Yeah. But we'll add some yes and no, because the point is, you know, he wanted to do these replicas of the studio versions, like, you know, everything exactly the same. And so when we started the band, I mean, one of the big conversations was, are we trying to sort of like replicate the albums, or do we want to like put on an awesome show and sound like Maiden does in concert? So it's a choice, right? It's one or the other, because, you know, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like something like Flight of Icarus is a funeral dirge on, you know, Peace of Mind. I can't even barely listen to it.
So it's Revelation.
Yeah, Revelations, my God. Yeah. So after a lot of back and forth, thankfully we recruited a bunch of other guys who agreed with me. So we play everything like warp speed, and it's a blast. It's awesome.
Yeah, Hallowed Be Thy Name is another example of that too.
Totally. Yeah. The first one I ever had was Live After Death. So when I went back to the studio versions, I was like, well, this is no good. Like, I couldn't listen to Revelations. Hallowed Be Thy Name. Because I wore out Live After Death before even getting a studio album.
Wow. Yeah, it's totally different when you hear like the studio versions.
I had Live After Death before Peace of Mind also. So when I heard the versions, I was like, well, oh.
Yeah. What's going on?
Boring.
Yeah, it's completely different.
Yeah, that part in Revelation. Da da da.
Yeah.
Why aren't they doing the group vocals there?
Yeah.
Why isn't the crowd singing?
Yeah, that's totally true.
They play Killers on this set too.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome to hear.
That's really good
to hear Bruce do it.
Really cool. Yeah.
I mean,
what's your guys' take on Bruce Dickinson doing the Diano stuff?
I love it.
It always sounds better when
sounds better to me.
I love Diano. I mean,
thank you.
Yeah. He's a better singer. He's a better singer.
I'm kind of a Diano hater, full disclosure, which I just like, people hate me for this, and all kinds of people say the Killers is their favorite Maiden album. Blah,
I don't get that at all.
I don't understand who. Yeah, I mean,
I don't get that at all.
Oh man, I've had so many people say that to me. Like,
I never
really weird. I don't know. I mean, it's a good album, but like, I don't know. For me, there's no.
It's a good album. It's all like stuff that wasn't good enough, mainly for their first album. You know, is.
I don't know, man.
Apparently, any of it was written for that album.
I think Fistful of Metal is the best Anthrax album. So
yeah, that's basically the same thing. It's like the same thing.
No.
Well, that's wait.
Because they know it's gonna evoke a reaction. Like from,
Right.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's absurd. Come on, Killers.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. So many people, even people that love like 80s metal and high vocals and all that, they're like, oh yeah, Killers and punk attitude and blah blah. I'm like, yeah. You know, to me, I think that like, you know, you can still get a lot of that energy on Number of the Beast, but it's just the songs are better and the vocals are better. It's just a different, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like something like Invaders could have probably been on Killers. Like it's this fast, riffy, kind of loose thing.
Such a shitty song.
I know.
No.
Yeah, well, that's not a great song.
The chorus is slightly suspect. I will give you that.
It's a weird song to open an album with. Why?
Yeah. It's the worst song on that album, and it's like
it's not worse than Gangland. It is not worse.
It's not worse than
Gangland.
Gangland
ain't good. Yeah.
Gangland is so good.
Yeah.
But we actually, you know, I'll tell you one thing about Invaders is really fun to play.
Yeah.
I think
I'll take a word for it.
Steve Harris said that should have been a B-side.
Gangland?
That was not.
It sounds like a B-side.
Gangland, yeah.
He said Burning Ambition was the one they should have put on the album. They got those backwards.
Or Total Eclipse, you mean?
Total Eclipse, that's it,
Yeah. We've kind of shifted into talking just Maiden.
We're spinning the entire
it's a live album.
I mean, live album. There's no way to avoid it.
So I kind of hinted at this earlier. I missed Maiden in their heyday in the 80s. Not that they're not great live now, but Navid, when was the first time you saw them live?
The first time I saw them actually was Brave New World.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I also did not see them in the classic period.
Yeah.
I was a bit young. I mean, the first shows I started going to were probably like in 90, 91. Yeah, for some reason it just never happened for me. But Brave New World first, and then a couple times since then, you know.
Okay.
That was an interesting one, Brave New World. They had Halford with his solo band, and I want to say Queensryche or something.
Oh, okay.
It was an interesting lineup.
Was it Fight? Or was it just...
No, it was Halford. It was a solo band. It was like Resurrection, I think was that era.
Oh, okay.
I think it was then. But yeah, it was great. It was really good.
Yeah. What tour was that one in Merriweather, Eric? Like 2003.
2003, yeah. That's the first time I saw them.
That was right before.
That was.
Dance of Death was the album that came out.
Yeah, that came out right after that, I think.
Yeah, Dance of Death.
Yeah,
which was not very good.
It's a little boring.
It's a little boring.
A little bit.
But was that Motorhead and Dio? That was 2001.
That was with Blaze Bayley, right?
Dio was 2000.
No.
I think it was. I think that was the same show, Keith. 2003. Pretty sure.
2003.
Motorhead was at that show.
Yeah, it was Motorhead opened, and it was.
I think we got there late, didn't we?
I think so. Yeah.
We were. It's the only time I heard Megadeth in my life. Motorhead. Pretty much, we got there after as soon as we could after work. Pulled into the parking lot, and we're walking to the damn show. We could hear Motorhead playing, and it was awesome. And then by the time we finally got in and everything went on, they finished.
I vaguely remember.
And Dio came on, and I'm like,
you had flashbacks to Sepultura. And...
Oh, exactly. Hate you so much. I'll never forgive you, Tim.
I know.
Yeah, I do. I think I remember Dio because I was not a Dio fan.
No.
I've since
did not appreciate him at that time.
Yeah, I've since appreciated him a lot more and kind of gone back and rediscovered a lot of his stuff. But at the time, I was not a Dio fan at all. So, well, I shouldn't say that. I've rediscovered Holy Diver and found out that's a good album. But everything else is like,
didn't they play the 1812 Overture?
The band?
Like,
I mean, Dio or Maiden?
Dio.
It sounds familiar. Sounds vaguely familiar. Maybe.
It was cheesy.
Now we're talking about Dio. What the hell happened?
I was throwing beers back pretty.
I was sick and still throwing beers back. It was hot as hell that day too, wasn't it? I remember trying to sing some of the songs. I thought I was going to pass out.
I just remember it was Merriweather and we were on the lawn and Tom drank so much. Tom drank so much that he couldn't even walk down the
Tom
hill.
Poor old Tom.
This sounds like Tom.
Yeah.
So back to the album for a minute. Another question for you guys: how did you feel about keyboards incorporated into the Maiden sound?
I had no I had no
That's
problem
another
with that.
point of controversy.
I'll be honest, like, you know, Somewhere in Time was the first album I ever heard from Maiden.
Yep.
And I fell in love with it. I mean,
Right.
I was expecting, when I first heard Maiden, I was expecting something a lot heavier than what it actually was.
Right.
And it doesn't matter, because it's fucking phenomenal regardless. And I did not realize back in those days that there was keyboard even being used. You know, it didn't stick out to me too much. And over the long term, I mean, I'm sure in this performance, they definitely have got to have some of it going on. At least, you know, there's, I mean, only 2 Summer in Time songs played. I mean, much of that used in Seventh Son?
Well, yeah, you need it for Seventh Son. Yeah, for sure that one. That sticks out. Probably Infinite Dreams as well. A couple of other ones. I'd have to go back and think about it. But yeah.
Can you imagine the hate if the internet was around when Seventh Son came out? How much hate they would like.
It would have been.
Well, there's still people that talk about it that way, and even the Somewhere in Time thing. I mean, people get hung up on keyboards and guitar synths, and they don't listen to the songs, which are fantastic.
Yeah,
You know?
it doesn't even. It's not even a thought in my mind when I listen to the album. It's just part of the songs. It's just there. It to me it enhances the songs. It makes them sound. I mean, I have no problem with it at all. Yeah.
And the thing is, if you're going to do like a conceptual piece like this, you need to create atmosphere, and keyboards are a really important part of doing that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have no problem.
I never had a problem.
I like the keyboards.
Yeah.
I want to add. I like it. And I'm like, I didn't even really notice they were there until years later. I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, the other thing too is they were wise to make them kind of a background sort of a thing. I mean, they don't really have a starring role, you know.
Yeah, it's not like they're drowning out like, you know, a Dave Murray solo with.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about
completely random tangent, but like for some reason this reminds me of this Def Leppard, right? Who I like a lot of early Def Leppard stuff a lot, and Bringing on the Heartbreak, the original version that's on High and Dry, I love. Yeah. But they released it as a single. They threw all these keyboards all over it, I guess, to appeal to what was happening on the radio. And there's all this like and it just sounds horrible and like wrecks the whole thing. It's like you gotta know what to do with those.
yeah. It's the way they use it. You know, you said it was atmospheric, and it's like, I mean, the song Seventh Son, I'll play it. Like that whole kind of chanting in the background, like that adds.
Yeah, see, those keyboards are necessary. They create a lot of drama, right? If it was just guitars and bass, it wouldn't have nearly the amount of drama. It's not even on its own. It's not even that great of a riff per se, but when you hear it all together, it sounds so huge.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
I totally agree.
Conversely, in the same year, Judas Priest attempted the same thing and fell flat on their face.
Wait, Turbo?
Yes.
Underrated album.
Oh.
Underrated.
No.
Definitely underrated. Cheesy, yes, but still underrated.
I'm your turbo lover.
Oh,
it's a great song. Out of the Cold is a great song. Reckless is a great song. There's a lot of good songs on there.
I haven't gone back.
86?
86.
Yeah, okay. I don't think I've ever even heard that whole album.
Actually, I loved it when it came out, and then as I get older, I was like,
you know what? Those songs sound better on the live album, Priest Live. They do a whole bunch of songs from Turbo. They're faster, they're heavier. They just make a little more sense. You know what I mean? Because that's another album where it's a little plodding. Some of the tempos feel kind of slow. But when you hear like Rock You All Around the World or Private Property or any of those songs, they do sound better live, I will say.
I'll check it out. I'll give it a shot.
Better. But yeah, I mean, you know, obviously they were trying to pander to the hair metal crowd. That was pretty obvious. Just the lyrical content and all. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But, but I don't mind hair metal either, so that's a whole other.
let's stick with Maiden. Let's not veer off topic too much.
Grinder on that album?
No. But it should be.
Grinder's before Turbo.
Grinder with an E?
Grinder was on British Steel.
Okay.
Now we're back to Grinder. Jesus.
Full circuit.
I just want to do a callback.
Yeah, there you go. Good job.
It's on British Steel. I have that album. I should have known that.
You should have known that.
I have it twice actually.
Wants you to eat. Those are genius lyrics.
Yeah. For meat.
Sorry, I shouldn't pick on Rob Halford.
Yes. Poor Rob Halford.
Hey, we saw him live too. We saw him with Fight.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Did I?
They were opening for who? Tim? Sepultura?
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
It was at,
yeah, I think it was Sepultura.
Was it
Where was this
Hammerjack?
at?
It wasn't Hammerjacks. Where was it?
It wasn't the Bayou, was it?
No, it was
No.
some weird club in Maryland, I feel like.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Was it? It wasn't Painter's Mill, was it?
maybe.
Painter's Mill was
Fuck
awesome,
that.
but short-lived.
Painters.
I just remember being on the balcony near the window and seeing Fight, and I think they were open.
Maybe
for
it
something.
Yeah, maybe it was Hammerjack. I don't know, but yeah, I remember see them. Yeah.
I don't think you were there, Joe.
I don't think I was either.
Anyway.
Damn.
Well, shall we move on to the headliner of this episode?
Yes.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Testament.
I feel like it's a co-headliner.
Yeah. Practice what you preach. Yes. So this album. So Testament is Chuck Billy on vocals, Eric Peterson on guitar, Alex Skolnick on guitar, Greg Christian bass, and Louis Clemente drums. The classic lineup of Testament, anyway. And yeah, this album, man, this was my favorite Testament album for a long time.
Yeah, me too.
This is the first one I ever had and was also my favorite for quite some time.
Yeah, I think it was just. I mean, recently, I think, I said, well, I think New Order's a little bit better.
Yeah, I think we both came to that consensus around the same time.
Yeah, and I think this album is better than the first album.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I agree.
No, you don't think so, Keith?
For me, I
That's right. Your favorite album is
Legacy is my favorite. Then New Order. I mean, and those two are, it's a close second. It is very close. This one is an absolute third. It comes nowhere close to as good as the first two. And then let's just say we fall off a cliff. I mean, but
I don't know.
Souls of Black is a good album. Definitely not great. I mean, the Legacy.
I think the Legacy's underrated.
I mean, there's some good tracks in there. I mean,
I'm sorry, the Ritual. The Ritual. Sorry,
the Ritual. That's what I meant. Rituals. It's got some good tracks, but I still remember when that one first came out. Was it Agony? Like I heard that song and was just thought it was the worst shit I've ever heard.
That's a real heavy.
Yeah, I don't know, but one way or another, let's get back to
let's
practice.
talk about.
I mean, the first album I ever heard from these guys was New Order, and fell in love. I mean, it was just that was that. I was sold. Testament was my favorite band back in the day. I don't know if I heard Practice. I think I heard Practice before I heard Legacy, but one way or another, Legacy hands down. I just love.
This is a different kind of an album, though. I mean, it's very mid-tempo. It's very commercial. I mean, it's
the production on this is like. I mean, the fact that Louis Clemente, nobody's ever going to write anything very good about him. But one way or another, you could flat out hear distinctly every time he touches his fucking bass pedal, every single thing he's doing, not too technical, but you can hear it perfectly. I mean,
it's a great air drum album.
It's a great air drum album. And the songs are super catchy. I mean, it's just, it doesn't have the thrashers. I mean, there's no Preacher, there's no nothing like that. But I think the songs are very well written and they're catchy. You can sing along to practically every single one.
Mm-hmm. But it's interesting too because it is not, Louis Clemente's not doing crazy shit on the drums, and it's very, and again, it's another like groove-oriented album. There's a lot of groove parts, and it's like just kind of laid back, drums. But it's in a time where Justice had just come out. So a lot of these bands were doing the more progressive, like crazy change stuff. They didn't do that. They did kind of just stuck to their own thing and wrote something that was, like you said, Navid, more catchy, more.
Yeah, and a couple standouts on this one. The Skolnick is just ripping.
Oh yeah,
it's just
ridiculous.
Disgusting. He's so good. And if you see them live, like just seeing the Practice What You Preach solo performed live is just a treat unto itself. It's just it goes through all these different sort of like phases of the solo, and they're all just phenomenal one to the next. It's such a well composed guitar solo. He was so good. Yeah,
we didn't mention this, but Navid, you play guitar too. You're not just.
I do.
Yeah, you play guitar in Irish Divine.
I don't play like Alex Skolnick, but I do play guitar.
I don't think anyone, not a lot of people do. I certainly don't either. So
I don't think Joe or I play like Steve Harris. So.
There you go. Yeah, but I do. Yeah, and Irish Divine I play. But yeah.
No, I think Tim, you might play like Louis Clemente.
That's what I just said that.
Oh, okay.
You know, the other thing about this album that's very, very noteworthy is that it was recorded live.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was. It's
yes,
super
yeah,
important. Everything with the vocals were literally done live. So again, I mean, you have to be a very, very well rehearsed band to literally just go. Actually, I post about this on Facebook. I don't post that much on Facebook. When I do, it's always some nerdy music thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I posted about this last year because I read an interview with Alex Perialis, who's a producer who did this, some other stuff at the time, and this is what he had to say about this album. So he said, because it was done on tape, right? This is way before Pro Tools and all that. You just had to sort of, be able to play your instruments, right? So he said this. He said, working on tape forces you to be engaged on a different level, not with your eyes on Pro Tools. The control room phone was on mute. I wanted them to be engaged in what we were doing. And we made Practice What You Preach in Berkeley, California. They wanted to make it live. And he said, if we're going to say in the press that it was made live, then we're going to make it live. So basically, he said every day they would run through the set twice.
Oh, my gosh.
And they just did that until they would just get the takes that they liked. I can't imagine how much work that must have been. But it feels like a very energized album. Even though it's mid-tempo, it's a very high-energy album.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to know those songs now, aren't they?
Right?
This was the album, I think, that fooled us into thinking Alex Perialis was a worth a shit producer.
Well, this and Red Child America.
Yeah, right. He
Pretty
Red
much-
Child America too.
Yeah, pretty much everything else that he put out just sounds terrible.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, this album sounded so good that we were like, man, he's the best,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll flat out say, I think the drums suck on this album.
The sound or the playing?
The playing, I think he's being a fucking lazy shit.
Yeah.
Well,
The last two for sure.
Well, I mean, the question is, how much more did he have to offer, right? I mean, I feel like this is just what he did. I mean,
at his talent level.
Yeah, it was. And, the poor guy, I mean, who were his contemporaries, right? Dave Lombardo, right? I mean,
Charlie Benante.
Charlie Benante, like these guys, even Lars back then, make fun of him, whatever, but back then he was doing really cool stuff and he was tons of energy. So, there's barely any double kick on this album. I mean, he's really, or any of them for that matter, like he really, and that's, when they change out their drummers, I mean, you could just hear the difference, right? I mean, it felt
you get Gene Hoglan. It's not even fair.
Gene Hoglan in there. Oh my God, forget about it.
I have something to say about that. Okay. All right. So I love Gene Hoglan. Love him. He's brilliant with Death and all that stuff. Completely underutilized by Testament. Completely. Demonic, I mean, they could have done so much more with it.
That's their worst album, though.
But the problem is this. It wasn't even the songs and whatever. It was this. Eric Peterson has this thing, and he's talked about it in interviews. You can hear it on all their albums. He wants all the drum fills to follow the guitars.
Really?
So he really reins in what the drummer can do because he wants everything to lock up and match rather than pushing and pulling or playing against or creating a counter rhythm. He's not into that. So Gene Hoglan pretty much got his marching orders to just lock in with the guitars, and all the crazy ride cymbal and all the amazing stuff he does, he didn't get to do. So I think it was kind of a wasted opportunity. Lombardo did better on The Gathering. I think he had a little bit more of a leash to kind of run with.
Yeah.
But even then, if you listen to Lombardo's like my favorite drummer. If you listen to his fills on Slayer albums like South of Heaven, or Seasons, I mean, they're amazing. His drum fills are it's so fluid and amazing. And he plays around the riffs a lot. He doesn't play with them. He plays around.
Yeah.
And he didn't do that on The Gathering. I mean, Eric Peterson was like, you've got to follow the guitars. So I think he wastes the talent of his drummers because he insists on that approach.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I agree with what you're saying. I don't agree that you have, you should let your drummer play. I despise when drummers play to what the guitar is. It just doesn't make sense. We were just talking earlier.
If you listen carefully, you'll hear it a lot on Testament stuff, especially the later era stuff. You'll hear it a lot.
We were just talking recently. We saw Killswitch Engage last weekend. They opened for Clutch, and they do a cover of Holy Diver.
Right.
And it's basically it's a horrible cover. I hate that cover because first of all it completely ruins the original song. And they do these things where it's like just crunchy guitar and the drums matching exactly what the guitar is doing.
Right.
It's not at all what the Dio song is about.
Like, which is sort of a modern metal convention, right? With the kick drums especially.
Yes.
I'm talking about here even like on the fills, like you heard a lot on like the Low. Do you guys like the Low album?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
good album.
I love that album, and so like
Yeah.
you know, on a song like Hail Mary, like, I mean, he just follows every single thing throughout the whole thing, and that sort of bothers me because of the caliber of the drummers that they got.
Who's drumming on that album? Who is it?
John, hold on,
Tempesta?
that's Tempesta. Yeah, Tempesta's on that album. Yeah,
Nice.
I like that album a lot. But yeah, on this one, so Clemente, I mean, like, you know, I think he did pretty much what he could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He needed to go.
No, he didn't wait. He lasted until
The Ritual.
Ritual.
Yeah.
Which was even more straightforward and mid-tempo.
Yeah, he's fine on that album because that album's kind of boring.
I like that album.
That was during that whole period too, when all the thrash bands were starting to slow down.
Yeah.
Well, that was everybody was trying to follow the Black Album. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. That's exactly what that was.
Yeah.
But this album is kind of like their Black Album in a way. The Practice What You Preach. It's got kind of a Black Album.
It's. I mean, let's face it. Lyric wise, it kind of breaks away from all the normal stuff that they. I mean, let's face it. You know, Billy didn't write any of the lyrics in the first album.
Right.
That most of them. I mean, but even for New Order, things were still a little more like, fucked up, demonic, weirdo, normal metal stuff. This one, throwing in the politics. Let's face it. Not a whole lot of. I mean, as much as Peace Sells, but Who's Buying definitely had a political angle to it. A lot of the other, and we talked about fucking Nuclear Assault.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Politics, into their shit a bunch, but that politics has never been that big, on the metal side of things.
I'd throw Anthrax in there probably.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But and it wasn't just one political song on this album either. There was kind of a
half of this
topical stuff,
which is wasn't normal for them. So
one thing about this album, in terms of tracks, I mean, the title track obviously everybody loves. The ballad, I think people really dig that one a lot. I'll tell you one that people don't talk about that much that I love is Blessed in Contempt. I mean, it's the only thrasher on the album, but I think it's a really good one.
Oh yeah,
I love that song.
It's a really, really good one. I thought that just turned out great. I thought the last two tracks, I hadn't listened to this in a while and listened to the whole thing again in preparation for this. I thought the last two songs are kind of throwaways for me. Nightmare and then the instrumental. I think
Confusion is just kind of like.
I was wondering
they needed more time on the album.
I was wondering that same exact thing. Did they just need to fill a 40, past the 45-minute mark or something?
And even Nightmare just felt like a tossed together kind of like couple of riffs and let's call it a day. But I think Blessed in Contempt is awesome.
Yeah. Nightmare Coming Back to You was almost like, it's almost not hardcore, but it's kind of got that feel like almost punk rockish. Like
that was the song. That was the song if you wanted to finish your mixtape with.
Adding 2 minutes. Oh yeah, that's a good one. I'll just throw that on there.
I don't know. The ballad though you mentioned, like, I think that so much set the landscape for I think so many people had to kind of rip off the way they did that because it was perfect. I mean, I don't think any other band has hit the ballad type song as perfect as they do on this album. Yeah,
and that's Navid said earlier that's Alex Skolnick's ripping on this album. That's solo, and that's the mini solos in that song. It's just his guitar work in that song is really impressive.
Guitar work all over the place. I mean, that was one thing, like we mentioned Low. Like when he left this band, I bought Low and I listened to it a few times, but him leaving that band left the fucking
he has a style. Yeah, exactly. He has a style.
But that having been said, I sort of feel bad for Eric Peterson because I mean he's the engine, right? I mean he's the main songwriter, the main riff writer. I think he's someone who kind of doesn't get his due, right? I mean people talk about a lot of the other rhythm guitar players of the time, Mustaine, Hetfield, blah blah blah. Peterson's kept this thing chugging the whole time, and he's written a whole pile of great riffs. But I feel like he kind of doesn't get his due all the time.
He's the Scott Ian of that band.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, no, because Scott Ian doesn't write much.
That's true.
Charlie Benante writes all their stuff.
That's true.
But this guy, I mean, Eric Peterson's he's writing the songs, and then Chuck Billy's doing his thing. But I just think that guy, he's been ultra consistent for the entire duration of Testament's career. I just think deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's underrated.
It was very underrated.
Yeah.
You know who wrote a bunch of lyrics in this album?
Oh, they all did.
Alex Skolnick.
Yeah.
Oh, did he really?
Wow.
It says in the liner notes. It says who wrote the lyrics. His name was on 7 out of how many songs are on here?
Yeah.
7 out of 10. Well, one of them is instrumental. So 7 out of 9.
It's so weird that Chuck only wrote lyrics in 4 of the songs.
Huh.
It's like, huh?
On here it says 5, so 5 of the songs have Chuck's lyrics. Some of them are collaborations, so it's like, you know, Billy Pierce. Still, Skull Next Name was on 7 out of 9 of the songs that have actual lyrics.
I had no idea.
That's surprising.
Yeah,
Skolnick didn't tour with them on the Ritual tour, did he? He was like gone.
Who?
Skolnick.
Oh, did he leave on that tour?
That's about like, he left in between Ritual and Low.
He played on the album though.
Yeah.
I'm just going back through some of their other albums, looking at who's played with them, and I remember it was the guy from Forbidden, not Craig, but the other guy.
The other guy, yeah.
I can't remember his name right now.
Glenn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Glenn Alvarez or whatever.
Mhm.
Alvarez. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So hey, Tim, did we see them? Because they apparently toured with Wrathchild America on this album.
I saw them, but I don't think you were there. It was them and
Annihilator.
Yes.
Yeah. Annihilator, Wrathchild America.
That was Richie Coliseum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think you went. I think you were too young.
No, yeah, it said it was October '89, so I was probably too young.
Yeah.
Although my first show was '89. My first club show was '89, Sepultura, Beneath the Remains tour. So
maybe it was a school night.
Probably. Oh, real quick, Navid, do you know Wrathchild America? We asked everybody.
Little bit, not too much.
Okay.
Couple songs.
They were the band that we followed around, and semi-local band. So we were every show we were there, so,
Saw them countless times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here's one thing from the Wikipedia page. Confusion Fusion is the only song from this album that has never been performed live.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, it also said that Practice What You Preach has been played over, what 700
times?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think that you have to play that song.
I'm surprised it's that small. I mean, I figured, it's one of their old school tracks, so everybody wants to hear one of the old school things. And sure, they've played thousands upon thousands of shows.
It's hard to write instrumentals that do not feel like filler. I think there's only a handful of bands I feel that really have been able to make one that sticks. I mean, the gold standard for me is always going to be Rush. I don't think anybody does better instrumentals than them or ever will. But
what do you guys think about that comment?
Oh, definitely.
I wouldn't know.
YYZ, yeah, La Villa, those are still, and I'm not like a Rush. I'm a fan, but not a fanatic. But in terms of instrumentals, best.
Yeah,
to me.
I go Orion and Call of Cthulhu. Those are. But we were just talking about
those are also two great examples. But do you see what I'm saying? There aren't that many. I feel like a lot of bands did them.
We've talked about 2 albums this year where we actually said there are instrumentals on these albums that are really good. Faith No More,
Metal Church.
Yeah,
Faith No More was Woodpecker from Mars, and Metal Church was what's the name of that song?
It's a secret.
It's a secret.
Yeah,
not a good song title.
So. But yeah, you're right. It's hard to write, and this one on this album is just it's just there. It's like
this was just sort of there. Yeah.
I almost could have.
They even left it at the end too.
Yeah.
Right.
They knew.
Yeah. It's not even throw some really good solos in there or something. There's nothing even like that in there.
No.
I kind of like the bass line in the beginning.
Yeah, it's got a good driving bass line, but it's about it.
Yep, that's about it.
Envy Life is an awesome song. I love that song.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing. I would say there aren't any clunkers on here except for those last 2, and they're pretty bad clunkers.
Yeah. No, it's a great album. I mean, start to finish. Well, not start to finish. Obviously, we just talked about that. It's a great album.
Depends on where you finish.
If you just stop the ballad.
Yeah.
You might be onto something about that. They needed to make it 45 minutes. Didn't they have a problem with that?
That was in the New Order. They needed it wasn't long enough to fulfill their contract.
They had to put that Aerosmith song in.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing happened here.
Yeah.
That one was only I think it needed to be 40 minutes because they just came in under 40 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I feel like I've kind of lost track with where Testament is these days. I haven't listened to their last couple albums, so.
Oh.
I know. They're good. I just don't. I don't know. I don't take the time to listen to them. I don't know.
I'm kind of that way too, actually. They're good. I mean, the tracks I've heard, you can't say they're bad. I mean, they're very good. They sound good. They're super heavy.
Right.
I don't know.
When bands start going through all those members, the same thing with Megadeth. I don't know.
Yeah, but Megadeth did that the entirety of their.
That's kind of true, but
Yeah.
and it makes it hard because they tend to sound different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look. Well, this is a perfect example of that. You know, you mentioned the demonic. I mean, that. I mean, it's not really a Testament album. I mean, like, you know, they made a death metal album for some fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I don't.
Weird.
Don't like it. Yeah. No, I think I still like this album second best. New Order's my favorite. And
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So what do you guys think, Navid, Joe?
Favorite?
Yeah.
The Gathering.
Oh wow.
Seriously?
Oh, favorite Testament?
Yeah, that's my favorite Testament album. If I could only listen to one, that would be the one.
Wow.
Wow.
Probably the New Order for me.
Yeah.
Is it the Gathering because of the drummer?
No, not at all. I really dig all the songs on there. I think it's a super consistent collection of songs. And they even talked about it when they were making it. They pulled just enough from their 80s sound. There's a good amount of melody, but they just upped the brutality just a little bit. It's like they took the best parts of like Low being more of that 90s kind of like down-tuned brutal sort of thing, but then they injected some of the, actual songs, like True Believer, stuff like that, singing. It's not just shouting.
Yeah.
So
Right.
to me, it's just like the perfect balance of the old and the new. I like 90s metal a lot anyway, so I love Low. That's probably, that's like right up there for me. But The Gathering, I thought was just all the stars aligned for me. I thought that was phenomenal.
Yeah, you mentioned Machine Head.
James Murphy was the lead guitar during that. He was formerly of Death.
Yeah, he did Low.
He's on this one too.
Is he on this one? Yeah. I don't remember. On The Gathering, I don't remember what he played on. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, he's in here.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and revisit The Gathering. I haven't listened to that album nearly enough.
What did you think of Dark Roots of Earth? I remember.
I liked it a lot.
It was good. It was good. Yeah.
You didn't like it, Joe?
No, I'm just remembering. I heard it once and liked it, and I never went back to it.
It's really good.
I still have not picked up. I fell in love with Formation of Damnation, but have not picked up either of the last two.
Yeah, we saw them last year.
cover. I'm sorry, Eric. They covered Power Slave on that. That's what I remember about it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's a good cover.
Yeah.
We saw them last year at it was Slayer. Gosh, who was it? Slayer, Lamb of God, Anthrax, Testament, and Behemoth.
Yeah.
And Testament were the opener, which is such bullshit, but whatever.
Yeah.
So they got like 30 minutes, and but they put on a great show. I wish.
I saw them with Lamb of God headline. I think I saw them on an off date. So it was Lamb of God headlining. It was Anthrax, Testament, and I think Napalm Death or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think they did do like a little side tour. Yeah.
That's the one that I saw. And actually, I thought that night Testament were sort of the best band of the night. I'd say I really liked them a lot. I like I don't like Napalm Death that much, but I like the others. But I thought Testament put on a really good show. You know what they have live now? They've got a little bit of that rock star thing. Like, I mean, they had a certain charisma. Like, I mean, Chuck Billy sort of still got that presence. I mean, Anthrax were and remain kind of goofy to me.
Oh yeah, they admit that.
Yeah, they don't have that same vibe, that rock star vibe. But you have Testament come on, they're all kind of dressed, the big dudes, long hair and black, like the whole.
Right.
They still look like. They look like rock stars, and they sort of carried themselves that way. And they were just a well-oiled machine, like Skolnick and Peterson are like, kind of like, doing these like rock star poses together and all this kind of stuff. But it really worked. It was really good.
Yeah. Skolnick's always been kind of a showman, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is great that the great bands that they're not phoning it in. I mean, Testament was not phoning it in. They were very excited to be there. You could totally tell.
Yeah.
They were still sort of all about it. It's cool.
I would love to see them on their own tour. Like, I haven't seen them on their own in a very long time. Was it? I think Jax was the last time we saw him.
Oh boy,
Jax. That was
it's been a long time since Jax has existed.
2005, where I had my flip phone camera and the guy stole it from me because the security guard was like, "You can't take pictures." I'm like,
I'm pretty sure I was there. Was that like that big? Was this sort of like a reunion when Skolnick came back? Was it that?
Yeah. 2005-ish.
That's back when his hair was still short, right? That always threw me off.
Yeah, it was kind of like
Live in London.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That same era. Yeah, great show.
Yeah, awesome. Great show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But that's the last time we saw them headlining. They're always opening, and they're always opening for bands they shouldn't be opening for. Like, Lamb of God should not be. I mean, I get they're bigger now, but it's a weird thing to see.
Maybe Testament wants to go on early so he can get the fuck out of there.
They are old.
Well, you know what though? I mean, tours like that are probably very beneficial because it opens them up to a new audience. I mean,
that's true.
Lamb of God's got a lot of younger fans, probably comparatively speaking.
Oh yeah.
Who that are going to, maybe hear Testament and get really into it.
Yeah, I'm sure they love the opportunity.
Yeah.
I just,
that's what we saw was a lot of younger kids.
Yeah.
Like when Lamb of God went on that Slayer show, kids everywhere were just going nuts.
Yep.
And we're just sitting there like, yep.
I'll go grab a beer.
Yeah. But I mean,
we had to do the same thing for Behemoth too.
Yeah. Not a fan of
Behemoth.
Yeah. Doesn't Eric Peterson have a side band?
Who?
Dragon Lord.
Yeah, Dragon Lord.
It's like a black metal. It's like a black metal thing, which I can't stand black metal at all. But I will tell you, they do an awesome cover of that Thin Lizzy song "Emerald."
Really?
It's like the best version of that song I've ever heard. It's so good. I don't know why. It's just so good. He sings it actually. It just sounds super cool singing it. And they throw some extra guitar harmonies in there. It's just really good. So if you like that song, this is probably my favorite version of it. Is Dragon Lord's version. Randomly.
Is Eric Peterson the singer of Dragon Lord?
Okay. Yeah. He sings. He mostly does that black metal kind of screechy thing. But he just sings melodically, and this one just sounds really cool.
I'll play this.
Let's see if it's as good as I remember it.
Hopefully.
Down from the glen came the marching men with their shields and their swords to fight the fight they believe to be right. Overthrow the old lords to the town where there was plenty. They brought plunder, swords, and flame.
He's not a good singer, but I like the sound of his voice.
No, if he sound like sang with us all the time, I probably like this thing.
Yeah. Oh, this is pretty sweet. Those harmonies?
Yeah, that's awesome.
From the graves I heard the falling.
It's just enough without making it flawless.
I'm laughing because now all I can hear when I listen to anything Eric Peterson is the drums playing to the guitars.
Yeah. I'm telling you, you'll hear it on everything.
He did the same thing in this song.
I'm telling you, that's that's his thing.
That's so crazy. How did I not know that?
I know. Now you're going to hear it all the time. Thanks a lot, Navid.
Yep.
Yeah.
I am pleased.
Wow.
God.
All righty. Well, cool.
I was going to bring up some Testament history, but we've talked about that with the New Order. So there's not really like how they got Chuck Billy and that stuff. The Exodus connection and all that stuff.
But, while we're on the subject,
Going back to Exodus a lot this episode.
I
think Chuck Billy might be the best, sort of objectively speaking, the best vocalist in 80s thrash.
He's excellent. Yeah.
He's got a great melodic voice. He can do the heavy stuff. And he's got a lot of attitude in his singing.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I go with Paul Stanley, I think. Look it up.
Wait, doesn't Gene Simmons sing Look It Up?
No, that's Paul.
Oh, is it? We don't know.
Yeah, no, that's all Paul.
All right.
Tears Are Falling. Gets me every time.
I prefer the Puppets Justice Hetfield if I'm talking 80s thrash.
Yeah, Chuck Billy's definitely up there though.
Yeah. From like a singing standpoint, yes.
And it's unmistakable. That was always one of the coolest things about bands back then was like who they are because the singer starts singing. You're like, oh,
tons of personality. Yep.
Oh yeah.
That's Overkill. That's Metallica. That's Slayer.
Yeah.
That's it. You always knew.
Yep.
A little nuance about Chuck Billy. I like the way he pronounces words because it's super metal. He goes like lies, like stuff like that. Like stretches things out in a certain way. You're like, obey.
Yeah.
Cross. All that kind of stuff. Like, it's super metal. It's so metal.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
Do that again. Burn you to that cross.
Burn you to that cross. So awesome.
You've convinced me. He's my favorite now.
It's in the pronunciation. It's great. It's really, really cool. That's another thing he does very well, but particularly back in the day, he was like all about that. It was really cool.
Yeah, he was. You're right.
Have you ever covered any of their songs, like sang any of his songs in your band?
No, never sang them. My voice doesn't really lend itself to that so much. I think we did a cover set with some other bands years ago. I think I played guitar in The Preacher or something. It was really fun, but
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we ever covered any Testament.
No.
Never bothered. And there's no solo guitar player that would be in our band.
Yeah, solo.
We can do the riffs, and then we get the solo. Never mind.
We stopped the song at the solo. That's right.
We'll do a medley of like all rhythm parts of
Yeah.
Testament songs.
God. No. That's not really fair.
Yeah. I'd say they influenced me as far as like, writing heavy shit, but
yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, this album was constant repeat when it came out. Like
it was another freebie. We got it for free.
BMG?
What's that? We have a cousin-in-law.
I thought it was the Columbia House or BMG.
No. This is post Columbia House. We had a cousin who would send us free stuff. He works at a record distribution, entertainment distribution house.
Cool.
He would just back in the day he'd send us stuff. We would just get stuff in the mail free, and we got this one free. And I was like, "Oh, the New Testament, yes!"
Yeah.
And
people are gonna hate us. Like, man, you guys didn't pay for anything. Everything you got was free.
Got a lot of free shit.
Yeah, we did.
Including this. This was our favorite Testament album for a long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
I one of my favorite. Well, probably because we met them afterwards, but seeing them at the Bayou was sitting on the balcony, like right above them at the Bayou. That was amazing. And I think it was when they were doing that Return to the Apocalyptic City.
Yeah, it was
promoting that. And John Tempesta was a drummer actually at the time. So and we met the band afterwards. They were all super nice. I remember Chuck Billy being really nice too, like just super, super nice. So
and that was tall.
Fun. And really fucking tall.
Looking over Testament's Wikipedia page, the Bayou, or not the Bayou, we were talking about Jax. Jax gets mentioned.
Really?
Wikipedia page.
Really?
Sweet. Yeah. Let's see here. We're pretty much in 97. I don't know. It's when Hogan took over. Was actually his first show was at Jax.
Oh wow!
So,
that's funny.
About that, God.
We mentioned this on a previous podcast. We played Jax once, and we were opening for Vixen and Enough's Enough.
Nice. That's some third tier. That's some like third, fourth tier hair metal right there.
I remember our guitar player went to the bathroom and he's like, "Hey, I think the guy at Enough's Enough just told me he liked my guitar work."
Yeah, that's like.
Is that a good thing?
that's like Bullet Boys level.
Yeah, I know.
Or are you gonna bring up Trickster again?
Yeah.
What's the name? Y&T.
Y&T. Wait, people like Y&T.
Y&T's been around since like the late 70s. I think they have more credibility than a lot of those other.
That's true. Yeah.
It's been around a lot longer.
Eddie Trunk's always like, yeah, Y&T. Like, okay.
Say Danger.
Danger.
Oh
man, we've gone off the rails. Talking about Danger, and Enough's Enough.
I think that's their name, or maybe that was the song.
No, Danger, absolutely, Bang Bang. And
I knew it was a double.
We're getting on hair metal again.
I could talk a good bit about hair metal. I like me some hair metal.
Yeah, can't say that I
did. Well, all right, fine. I'll throw out my one of my Jax things. I got to open for the Vibrators the day after, or it might have been the day that Joey Ramone died.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That was a pretty cool experience, except that it was at Jax.
Yeah.
We played there in high school too for something, Eric.
Oh yeah, it was like a Battle of the Bands thing.
Yeah.
That's right. Your bass amp was all fucked up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was awful. I remember being so nervous because we had seen Pantera there like the year before, and we're like, we're playing on the same stage as Pantera. This is crazy. You know, we're like 17 years old. Yeah.
God.
Well. Anyway. Well, should we wrap things up?
Sure.
We gave a good amount of time to all these albums, so we'll wrap it up. All right. Well, I'd like to, thank you again, Navid, for taking the time out.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a blast. It's a fun way to spend a Monday night.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I learned a lot. I know that.
Yeah.
This guy knows more than us.
Yeah, you're not allowed on again. He's got too much.
He has niche.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know or wasn't exposed to, but there's these little niches of things that I sort of got.
Yeah, like the Eric Peterson drum thing. Like what?
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
you'll never be able to unhear it.
No,
you son of a bitch.
Yeah, you ruined.
You ruined Justin for us.
Drum fill standpoint.
Well,
you don't have to worry about it on this album. There are no drum fills.
That's kind of true. Well, I've been pushing these guys. I want to do 94 as our next album, lump of albums, since it's the 25th anniversary of 94 albums. So, maybe we'll call you back up when we do 94.
Oh yeah, there's bound to be a bunch of stuff in 94 I probably dig.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the big
so. We'll definitely have you back on. An open invitation wherever you want to come on.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Yeah. It was a blast. Thank you so much.
All right, cool.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to end the show. I don't need to promote anything since I promoted. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me promote you guys, Navid, and your band.
Oh, thank you.
So August, I said it before, August 2nd, right?
August 2nd. Yep. Eyes of the Nile is playing in Winchester.
Yep.
What's the name of the venue?
It's called the Blue Fox.
Yeah.
So it's, full on like Maiden headlining kind of set, like, full length. We do tons of classic stuff. It's all played very fast and very heavy, and the musicians in the band are phenomenal. So it's a good time.
They're fantastic. I've seen them multiple times.
Yeah. You've been several times. They're very, very true to the music. It's
absolutely
like pleasure playing with them. So it's a good time.
And Iris Divine, you guys got anything coming up?
Yeah, actually, so we do these little mini tours now because our drummer lives in Colorado, so he'll fly in and we'll do some dates just for fun. So we're going to do, I think, 5 dates in September, and we just started writing for album number 3. So
very cool.
If you like prog metal, we sound kind of like, I don't know, sort of like a cross between maybe Fate's Warning and Alice in Chains or something. So it's a sort of like modern prog metal sort of thing. Not super shreddy, more song-based. Big.
Our friend Landon is a huge fan.
Oh, Landon, Landon. Yeah. Landon's followed us for a little while. He's a good friend of ours. Yeah. So if you're so inclined, if you like proggy stuff, give it a listen.
Cool. Yeah. And do you have a website or anything?
It's Iris Divine, I think, band.com. We're on Facebook. We're sort of everywhere. It's IRISDIVINE. We've had all kinds of spellings of that over the years. For some reason, people for a while thought it was Irish Divine, and I'm like, have you looked at me? But Iris like the I Divine. So check it out.
Yeah, man.
So, thanks for the plug, dude.
Yeah, anytime.
All right.
That's the end of the show.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Energy, aggression, power. To sum it up, it's a vulgar display of power.
Metal and certain other forms of rock give teenagers something to believe in that they get no place else.
The human element of making music is what's most important. Singing into a microphone and learning to play an instrument, that's the most important thing.